TV. The opinions expressed in the following programs are those of the participants and do not necessarily reflect those of Rogers Cable or Rogers TV.
Hi, and welcome to Politically Speaking. I'm David Shearman. My guest today is Mayor Ian Boddy of Owen Sound. And Ian, you're in your office. You're not out in the atrium or some of the lovely places that you've been before.
I'm trying to squeeze a whole bunch of different appointments and meetings in today, and cutting down on the logistics in between each one is really the reason.
We'll grant you that, Ian. We'll grant you that because we know that you're off. That those of you who hold the office of mayor are very busy people and lots of appointments and lots of things to be considered. So let's get right at it. One of the things that I was pleased to see is that the city is remembering Sharif Rahman, and there is a tree planting that is upcoming, or by the time this is viewed has happened, I believe, in memory of Sharif, who was a prominent citizen here and who sadly lost his life a little over a year ago.
Yes, that's coming up. I think it's Saturday, I'm going to say the 25th or the 26th of October. Actually, I can probably check my notes. Yes, it's October 26th at 2 p.m. up at the Julie MacArthur Recreation Center. Sharif, of course, ran the snack stand there, the food counter, as well as was a member of the Y, as well as sat on the Y board of directors, as he was so involved in so many things. So it makes sense for the tree to be there. The city got the suggestion through a committee and got the blessing of the Rahman family. And so that will take place on the 26th at 2 p.m. at the Julie MacArthur Regional Rec Center.
And of course, the public is invited.
The public's invited, yes.
Yeah. Yeah, I happen to be driving by and I see they've got the ground prepared for it right there, which is kind of nice too.
Unfortunately, I'm tied up somewhere else, and it's going to be touch and go whether I can get there. But Deputy Mayor Gregg will be lined up and ready to go if I can't make it.
Mm-hmm. Yes, that's the nice thing about having a deputy mayor. You can say, "Hey, can you take care of this?"
Well, and that's the other thing with trying to schedule things you want to go to, and then there's things that you have to do, and keeping all the balls in the air can be challenging sometimes.
You mean juggling isn't part of your orientation training for being chief officer of the city?
No.
Oh, gee, I thought that was just standard training. But anyway, there's been no news on the front. We know that charges have been laid, but there's been lots of speculation, but nothing more that obviously you can say, is there?
There's nothing more that I can that I know that I would be able to say. Again, major criminal investigation led by the OPP. The head of the criminal investigation makes decisions about information release, not the city, not the chief of police. And so we will wait for the next information release and the next thing that happens.
Yeah. Although I certainly know that people are watching and waiting, so let's hope it's sooner rather than later.
Well, that was, I think, as we approached 1 year, why they wanted to get the announcement out that there had been arrests made and more to come, and it will come.
Good. Well, I guess we'll just have to have patience.
Yeah.
One of the things that's happening now in the city committees is that each committee is receiving a budget, draft budget, a preliminary budget from the director of finance, and those are pretty heavy-duty presentations. Although I must say the one I've seen so far at I think it was corporate services was excellent. I was quite. It was there were a lot of PowerPoint slides, but the way it was explained helped me understand as a taxpayer just what that particular department in the city is responsible for, but also the charges that are involved. So it was quite interesting to watch.
At the end of the day, it's a council that makes budget decisions, and we've got that responsibility. I'm not sure if it's still in the books, David, but at one time, council was considered the budget committee, and it was something a little bit separate than just council. I'm not sure that it made any difference, but lots of information to go through. This is the first year, and it's really Scott Gregg's initiative to have budgets presented to committees so that committee members have an understanding of, quite often throughout the year, though, they will pass things and not really think about the cost or the impact or those types of things. So it's good to share that information with the committees. And of course, we're probably advertising right now for new committee members. If we haven't started, it will start soon. Starting the next committee launch will be in February, and we have a number of public members and preferably more public members than council members on that. And it's an advisory type committee because they give advice to council and council can approve it. Although they're standing committees, there seemed to be some confusion raised at the last council meeting for whatever reason. But, they're standing committees, but they're advisory committees made up of public members. So we kind of spread the decision making a little bit wider than just council.
I did see actually today an advice or a notice inviting people to respond for public committee positions. So that's a good point. It is the one way that citizens can be engaged in the decision making process and give advice to the
Now 14 years that I've been kicking around council since 2010. It is. You come in with a little bit better when you get elected on council. When you've sat in committees and you start to understand the procedure through committees, you get that experience. You get a little more know-how on what the city does, and I think it's a great opportunity for anyone that's considering going on council in 2 years to have a look at how things work. And maybe they don't have an interest after they've sat on a committee. Maybe they do, but it's a great way to get experience so you're not coming in cold and not understanding and trying to reinvent the wheel when you come onto council.
Yeah, the other thing people can do, of course, is watch the recordings of committees because they're always annotated after they're posted. That you can see, well, where is that report? What's that report about? Oh, that's what it's about. And I've certainly found it to be very interesting to connect those reports and the videos afterwards. So,
well, you can owensound.ca and then click on, I think, government up in the right-hand corner, and then there'll be something like meetings and agendas. You'll get a calendar. You flip onto that. The choice of PDF or HTML, and HTML gets you through. You can actually look at the report. And when you click on it, you can get the whole conversation that went on at the committee or at council. You don't have to watch the whole meeting or zoom ahead, zoom back. And it's a great way to be informed about how council makes decisions or what information was discussed or what was really said. You may even find that more accurate than what you might read in social media. You actually see it.
Very true. Very true. In fact, I've noticed some of the people in social media, some of the posters in social media are actually linking their posts to the city's webpage and that annotation. So good. That's been a good thing. I want to circle back for just a moment about the budgeting process, because I want to be very clear. These are drafts. This is not set in stone. Council will make its decision. I think there's a 2-day session in early December, when council has its big go at the budget.
Well, we'll look at capital budget. We'll look at operations budgets, and yes, it'll be over a number of days that it will come, and we look at things and deliberate and try to balance, as always, balance the services that we provide. And I think a couple of years ago, we had something like 40 or more services that are provided, big city services that are provided by us, which isn't really a big city, and then try and balance the budget um, without cutting major services that get used a lot or are needed.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and the other thing, I think it's a good point that this is not a big city. We are a small city, and we don't have the resources to provide big city things.
But yet we do.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Um, which makes us pretty ingenious, or as I have said before, that's the Grey Bruce solution. We figure out a way to do it anyway.
Yeah, yeah.
So,
We can go on for an hour on that and how,
oh yes,
this term of Grey County has been really amazing at where all of us are doing something and there might be a way of doing it together cheaper and finding ways working either, through the county or with other municipalities. There's just been strides forward, I think, and great leadership from Kim and everybody at the county on finding ways to collaborate and finding more efficient, perhaps better, and perhaps less expensive ways of doing things. So.
and that was the whole point behind the proposal for a centralized planning service, was it not?
Yeah, we are looking at that through the county. Can we have a centralized, more efficient planning service? There might be a time when town of Blue Mountains is having trouble getting planners and they've got a lot on the plate. And there might be another municipality that's got a planner that's working at less than full capacity. I'm not saying they're slacking off. They may have room to take on a project on their work list with something else. And so instead of having the silos between municipalities, there's opportunities to share work, to share resources, to have more centralized work. It's something that we, I think, need to look at. We looked at OPP costing a few years ago. We're looking at policing now. We will look at waste management in the coming months or years up at Grey County that's shared. So this is just one more thing that we all do. Can we do it better? And it's worth looking at.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. And then to be very, very clear, this centralized planning service is not a fait accompli. It's not a done deal. You've asked questions, I think is the way you've framed it.
Well, and that was what we want is that the county put out a letter to lower tiers as approved by county council for feedback, considerations, and things to look at, really questions to be answered on how will this work.
Yeah. And you speak of the town of Blue Mountains, and I've had the mayor and deputy mayor on the show before, and they've said very clearly, staffing is an issue. It's not just planning; it's other staffing. I know I've encountered this in other parts of the public service. There is X number of qualified candidates for a particular position across Ontario or even Canada, but there's a demand for Y, and X doesn't equal Y, and not only that, there isn't any movement in the system because at this point, for many of these positions, there is a shortage. There is a shortage of some of these critical positions.
David, I doubt there's a lot of 16-year-olds watching Politically Speaking as we speak right now. But for parents, grandparents, if you've got a child, a teenager that's looking at what they're going to do, master's or bachelor, I think of public administration is pretty amazing. Well paid. Pensions, benefits, being able to make big decisions in a municipality or provincial government. There is a shortfall, of course, as the post-war baby boom squeaks its last remains out of the working system, and lots of jobs to be filled that aren't going to be filled by a computer because it's AI isn't going to do it. So it really is a great profession for people that are interested.
I fully agree, and I've said that on several occasions, and even had planners on the show. Now that's been a while, which reminds me, it was one of the county planners, Scott Taylor, as I recall,
Yes.
and we
Yep.
talked about the kind of work that he does and the training that's required. And if you want to get into it, it's important stuff. And you, like you said, you get a chance to be at the table for some very big decisions
Yeah.
that affects communities.
So Scott is an expert, and he's just actually gone on to the board of directors for the Provincial Planners Organization. I can't think of the name of it, but very well respected and very, very good, smart planner. Yeah.
Yeah. So, like, you're right. Okay, grandma, grandpa, tell your kids. Tell your kids. But although, I've always said on this show, it doesn't anything to do with municipal service is an opportunity for a career in this province. Not just this province, but across this country. And so go for it. Go for it. Hey, I'm sure you as a lawyer will retire someday, and you're always looking for young, bright lawyers to come in and take over your shoes.
That's a different topic. Yep.
But surely the same criteria apply for the law. You're always looking for people to step up and the next generation of lawyers because your work is essential.
Yeah. Different issues. And there always seems to be lawyers graduating. And some lawyers end up in municipal and government administration roles, and it too is a good background. But there's an easier way than going through than law school to get to it.
Sure. Well, it's a fascinating kind of side trail to follow, but yeah, I think that yes, we can. And one of the things that Pam Coulter said in her presentation about this issue was that one of the advantages that Owen Sound has is it has always had summer students working in the planning department to give them that exposure. So we have a tradition or a history in this city of bringing in new blood and new ideas in that way.
Yeah, I think others have too. As I
Sure.
think the county can. That's certainly not unique to Owen Sound. University of Waterloo's got a good planning Laurier. One of the universities in Waterloo has a good planning program with co-op, so there's a chance to get out and work in municipalities and get some experience. And the city certainly has hired some of those co-op students that have got some experience. Frankly, lit it up, and we've brought them back once they graduated.
Well, hey, isn't that what the city says? Where you want to live?
Exactly.
Make it the place you want to live, and this is the way to do it. One of the other things I think that really was interesting in that particular committee in corporate services was the building condition assessment. And it was a two-part report, but the point that it made was that, and you and I have talked about this, the infrastructure in the city, the kind of stuff that we have here in this city is in varying condition. And some of it's pretty big ticket. Some of it's fine, but some of it's pretty big ticket stuff. What's the intent of that? These are probably capital expenditures that will be attended to in time, or they obviously can't be brought in all at once.
Correct. Capital expenditure. I just got stalled there trying to think about which capital building or structure isn't a big ticket one, but
so the police and fire station are the top two.
Yeah, that's a big one. Certainly, we have to maintain the rec center. If we wind back a couple of years, we had a coliseum that was not maintained and falling apart, and was replaced with the Julie MacArthur Regional Rec Center. We went 50 approximate years at City Hall without a renovation, and then it was a multiple $1 million renovation. So if you've ever lived in a condominium, they will do a study of the building to try and say, okay, the roof is going to last 20 years. It'll be replaced in such and such a year. It now costs so much money. By that point, we assume an inflation that will cost X amount. We need to start putting money into a reserve for that. So with asset management, the city tries to put money into reserves, although it's difficult. On one hand, you debenture for a building, you pay down that debenture over the lifetime of the building, so you don't owe any money at the end of the life of the building or of the asset. And the other way is to try and put money into the reserve, so when it's time to replace that, you've got enough to buy it outright, and you rebuild the reserve again for the next replacement point. So anyway, doing an asset management plan, you look at all of your structures, look at all of the components, what needs to be replaced when, what the dollar value will be, and start to recognize how much money you need for that. I can tell you right now that, we try and put 1%, add 1% each budget. 1% of new spending into capital. The goal is to set it into a reserve or for capital replacement, not to go out and buy new toys and new equipment, things that we didn't have before, unless they can prove that it's going to provide us with a savings. The idea is to know your assets, know their values, know what the costs are going to be, and that gives you better long-term financial planning.
Now, one of the things that was made clear is that this is the big ticket shouldn't necessarily scare people. That it's going to be, there will be plans that will show up probably in the budget for a lot of this work. But I guess in a sense, what that report was a big notice saying, hey, we got to attend to this. We can't to use the old expression, we can't punt.
We're already doing a 5-year capital budgeting, and that's to smooth out the bumps, and not get to a year that you go, oh wow, everything just broke all at once. We need to replace it now, and then you've got taxes going up and down and being quite variable. So when you can start to look at those assets, look at when replacements have to take place, start to put those into the capital budget, then you can have a better long run, smoothed out, if that's proper English, budget plan, so that your taxes aren't varying. You're planning ahead. You're taking money into putting it into reserve, so you're ready for it.
The other thing, and this actually will come up to community services. Then we're on the night that we're taping this later on today, and that is replacement of the ice pad and the boards at the Bayshore. And that's apparent and this is probably a good example of what can happen. It was to be budgeted for 2026. They discovered a leak. The leak has been fixed short term, but hey, we got to do the job a year earlier. Well, okay. That can be put into the budget. And I should say the attack has stepped up as well on the cost of this, according to the document. So an emergency doesn't have to be oh my golly, what are we going to do kind of thing. It's sort of like you're saying, okay, we can handle this kind of thing. We just move it forward a bit, 1 year, and this is going to be an interesting.
That doesn't make it easy necessarily, but it allows you to adjust more. What have we got? A 41, 42-year-old building with the Harry Lumley Bayshore Community Center. And there's been some renovations, seats and different things over the years. We're lucky to have the Attack really as partners. They look at us as partners in their hockey team. We're lucky to have them as partners on the arena. And working together on that, and certainly the boards, and there's certain obviously the floor and the ice making equipment underneath it needs to be replaced. And we did the compressor a year or two ago, and so we've chipped away at things, but this is the next big one.
The other thing to remember too is that this kind of blew me away. The Owen Sound Bayshore is the second smallest arena in the OHL. And a full house for us is 1/3 capacity of the arena that the London Knights have. So a sellout here would be an empty venue for them.
Yeah, and that's why hockey fans, junior hockey fans all over Ontario want to come to Owen Sound to see a game. This is a real draw because of the size and the atmosphere within the bowl. It's very popular.
Yeah.
And I don't think we have the population base. Ignoring costs, we don't have the population base probably to double it to 6,000 seats and have it full. But boy, if we could add 500 more seats or something, it would be nice to do something. I don't think that's going to happen within my time, but at some point soon they will need to look at that for sure.
That's right. And hey, OHL hockey here on Rogers is a great opportunity to watch the future NHL. So, hey, I gotta get a commercial in there for Rogers. They don't pay me anything, but at least I gotta get that plug in. But anyway, yeah, it'll be an interesting project because it will apparently shut down the Bayshore, the ice side for all of the summer, and there will have to be accommodations made. Lacrosse and other events will have to be other locations, and even I suspect the Attack training camp, which it'll be ready for the regular season, but the Attack may have to be flexible on the training camp. But hey,
well, we keep the ice in at the rec center as well all year long, so it gets a lot of use. Yes,
it does, and still we have hockey. This is a hockey town.
It's also a lacrosse town, so that's
true.
That will be a challenge.
Now, what you got to think about it as is that we are taking the lacrosse team on the road. I mean, doesn't the NBA, Major League Baseball, and the NFL take their show on the road to London and South America and whatever? Well, we're just sending the lacrosse to Katy and to Kincardine and to Port Elgin and Durham.
About 1993, 1994, I can't remember, the junior bees were in the playoffs against Aurelia. They ran out of time. Both teams went out to the national championships. Owen Sound won it in Winnipeg. And then they came back and had to finish the 7-game series against Orangeville to determine who the provincial champion is. By that point, they were playing in the Meaford Arena and packing it. So we've done it before. We'll find a way.
Always trust the history. Always trust, because the history usually has the answers.
Yes.
Well, with that, Ian, we'll take a break and we will be back because, hey, we got a lot more to talk about. I'm David Shearman. This is Politically Speaking, and just hold on. We'll be back.
This program is brought to you by Ignite TV. Now you're in command. Visit Rogers.com for more details.
You're watching Rogers TV.
Sports is life. It's clear cut. Everything's out in the open. There's nowhere to hide. I had to prove myself more than anyone else.
You must be so proud of your son. He's gonna go pro. The sky's the limit.
There's always a winner and a loser.
You cannot reach the sky in broken cleats.
Of course, I always want to be the winner. And I did reach the sky.
Norman Kwong, the first Chinese-Canadian professional football player, still holds records to this day. He retired from the sport in 1960 and later became Lieutenant Governor of Alberta.
With Rogers TV, you can cheer on the home team from the comfort of your living room. We'll head to the rink, the field, the court, or the pitch, so you don't have to. Tune in and cheer on your local amateur athletes on Rogers TV.
Hi, and welcome back to Politically Speaking. I'm David Shearman. My guest is the Mayor Ian Boddy of the city of Owen Sound. We've been talking about hockey, which is, of course, Owen Sound is a hockey town and a lacrosse town and all kinds of other towns. But you wanted to talk a bit about Hockey Day. That's coming up over this winter, is it not?
Yeah, I think I've still got three things on my list that we need to, or maybe just two, no, three. So yeah, coming out of Hockey Day in Canada a couple of years ago, this will be the second year that we've done Hockey Fest in Owen Sound. And it's going to run over the weekend of November 14th to 16th. Of course, that Saturday Santa Claus Parade is that day too. So that makes a really fun weekend to be in Owen Sound. Once again, we've got the Waterloo Warriors women's hockey team from the University of Waterloo. They'll play one of their games up here, and I think it's going to be really fun. There can't be a bigger rivalry than Laurier coming. So we've got Waterloo and Laurier playing women's hockey in Owen Sound. As our national sport grows, the biggest growth area is obviously in women's hockey. And it's a great sport to watch. It's less, I don't know what word to use, combative maybe. So stick skills, passing, skating, it's more of a finesse game. And it's a fun game to watch at the professional level, as we've had in the past, and university level. So there'll be coaches clinics and lots of training sessions and events on the ice and things for boys and girls that are playing hockey. So it should be a great event. Street hockey tournament, I think. I just looking at my notes, I'm pretty sure if you go to Hockey Fest or owensound.ca and Hockey Fest, there'll be a link. Last year we had a really fun road hockey event that was tied specifically to it that the kids loved. So I'm sure we'll be doing it again. Great. It's all hockey is always great fun here in this town, and by that time it will have hopefully cooled off a little bit, and we'll be enjoying the fall weather as opposed to the winter weather that will come. Have you been outside today? Oh, yes, I know. There's no snow yet, but it's funny you should mention that because I was looking at my Facebook page and up popped a reminder from 2015 that we had a weather warning for snow. So that's
It probably melted, but the point is, we're this is just the way it is in Grey Bruce, you know.
Yeah, it will be coming soon. Other things on my list. So, you know, we've been talking November 7th, so that will be maybe after it snows. November 7th from 4:30 till 7 p.m. at the Bayshore Community Center, we're doing the city open house. So, you know, one of the things that got lost in our conversation about question period at City Hall is that we want to do these open houses that people can come and talk to staff and come and talk to council and ask questions and become informed. And one of the things discussed was what do they call it? A town hall. But a town hall often means that the loudest, angriest person gets the microphone, and the person that might be a little more timid, that's afraid to ask the stupid question. And, you know, that we always say there isn't a stupid question, but with this way, anybody who, no matter their self-confidence in front of a crowd and a microphone, can come and ask questions and become informed and share ideas. So we're really looking forward to that. This will be the first one, and it's a way for anybody in the community to communicate with council directly and with staff directly. So that's November 7th, 4:30 to 7 p.m. at the Bayshore Community Center. The other huge thing that we've been working on, of course, is Vision 2050. And we did surveys during June and July. We had over 1,000 people participate and put in comments. And from that, our expert that we've retained, Jay Pitter and Associates. I don't have it in front of me. Jay Pitter, anyway. Jay
Pitter Placemaking.
Placemaking, there we go. Is just brilliant. Every time I talk to her, I learned so much, and we're so lucky to have her involved with helping us with this. So she's put together the initial report from that first section of surveying, and we'll go back out to the community for phase 2, which is shape the vision. And we'll have sessions November 8th, 9th, and 10th, visioning sessions, so people can sign up for those, come and discuss the visioning, and we start to fill in the plan a little bit tighter based on more community input on that. And the other part of that is a community engagement workshop on October 23rd, so that's coming up, I guess, next week, next Wednesday from 5:30 till 8:30. And it's a chance for the community to learn about inclusive community engagement, invisible barriers impeding meaningful community engagement, with solutions for addressing them, strategies for connecting with historically excluded and or hard to reach stakeholders, and inclusive and creative community engagement examples. So Jay, because of her world experience in the States and in Toronto and all over with her placemaking profession and expertise, sees where communities are able to reach out and where they aren't. And we found that we did really well on the surveys in July, reaching out to communities that sometimes can be alienated or, you know, don't feel comfortable being involved, whether it be ethnicity, whether it be gender orientation, you know, whatever those things. We did extremely well in getting feedback from a variety of people. Maybe who we didn't, you know, there's maybe just people in neighborhoods, everyday people living in everyday houses in our neighborhood that we didn't get as much of as we would like. Not suggesting that not everybody's, you know, somebody in our neighborhood. It's just, you know, I guess what I'm trying to say is, did we miss anybody? And how do we reach those people that we may have missed in demographics. So, identifying how do you reach out to those people. So that's a community engagement workshop on October 23rd to talk about, how do we engage everybody. And then following up with the visioning sessions in November 8th, 9th, and 10th. We did a visioning session with an expert between, I'd say it was about 2014 to 16. And then when Tim Simmons came in, he redid it and added specific goals and timelines and things that can be achieved. And we're pretty well through those things that we identified. This is trying to set out what you want the city to look like in 2050 or throughout to 2050. And each council can come along and bite off a piece of it and make it part of their strategic plan for their 4-year term and work towards achieving some of these things. Example, we didn't have COVID a few years ago, so things like that will knock us off our stride that you don't see coming, that may change things and may change society and how we approach things. So it will always be changeable, but we'll have a framework that gives the city the chance to move forward and, to be a more welcoming community, to welcoming new Canadians from all over the world and making Owen Sound a destination that, they don't have to be in the GTA or big cities, although that's often a easier draw. Growth plans, employment plans, housing plans, affordable housing plans, all those things will be part of it. And looking forward to what issues could come is so important. And I'm glad that we're able to do it and spearhead it. And something that I've really wanted to do for a couple of years. And having Tim there with such a bright mind and ability to think it through. And then certainly with Michelle Palmer and at the city and Jay Pitter and Jake and everybody involved, I'm pretty excited about it.
Well, I also understand that there will be urban planning students involved from, we talked about the young people these are young people who are in that education stream, and they'll be a part of the process as well, I understand. So it's not as if it's not just us. We're getting outside people helping us look at ourselves.
I've done about people housing, jobs, planning. What do your parks look like? What are you going to need? How much parkland are you going to need? What can you do to make it better? What can you make it a more livable space, more of a community space? The River Precinct phase 1 is done is working very well, and phase 2 will be done soon, in a couple of weeks, hopefully. I know we're waiting for some materials to come to get it complete, but those are the types of things that more livable outdoor space, more community space for people to gather are part of that planning. Different cultures. So culture being not only art galleries, symphonies and things, but different cultures of languages and maybe religion, foods, those things from around the world, languages, pulling those all together and allowing them to excel and flourish here in Owen Sound. It's the more we have involved, the better.
I must say that having lived here 25 years now, the culinary side of the city has literally exploded, and we have food here available that you would certainly, I'm going to go out on a limb and say would rival that of parts of Toronto.
Well, of course, yeah, I think it's great.
So, and that's the change. That's part of the change. And if you don't like Chinese, there's Thai, or there's Indian, or there's Vietnamese. Lots of possibilities.
Yes. Yeah.
So this looks like a very interesting event. And if I'm hearing you correctly, it's not once and done. It's something that'll be with us for the next dare I say, 25 years.
That's the goal. It's, giving that framework, identifying things, but giving that framework to adjust as changes come. But, so often in the past, you go to a council meeting, you'd be making a decision based on right now. And now that we're into 5-year capital planning and long-term budgeting, now we're making decisions that, I've always said that I'm making a decision at the council table that it's going to have a bigger effect on my child than it is on me. And so, you need to plan out and have a vision of where our children are going to be, frankly, as you're making those decisions now, so that we're not making a decision based on, be cynical, based on the next municipal election for some of us, or, based on what our needs or wants might be right now. Let's balance that with what our needs are going to be in the future, and let's try and set the table for future councils and future generations to be able to excel instead of tying their hands.
I want to circle back a little bit because you had a very interesting notice of motion that went forward at the last council meeting, which also was accepted actually came out of West Grey, to look at where the two municipalities might work together in policing services. What was the genesis of that? Where did this come from? Obviously, it didn't spring out of the air.
Well, it came from, I would imagine there's a conversation first. I can't really remember, but I sent a letter out to West Grey and Hanover, and actually made a phone call to Saugeen Shores. So those are the 4 municipal police services in Grey and Bruce. Saugeen Shores is, it's a little bit off the beaten path and in Bruce County, so they had less interest in looking at being involved with us. But we wrote letters. It was during last council term, 18 to 22, that I wrote to West Grey Mayor and to Hanover Mayor. West Grey wasn't interested, didn't show any interest. Wasn't really sure what happened there. We met with Hanover at the time. We have met with Hanover, West Grey mayors and chiefs of police in the past few weeks, just to have a general discussion about, are we interested? And out of that came the motion from West Grey that came up, and we adopted it, the exact same thing, just to be consistent, sent it back down. Hanover is looking at rebuilding police stations and things right now, so their plate is a little bit full. I really think, and I'm really hoping, that if we can move the ball forward with West Grey, that Hanover will be back to talk to us. So there's so many challenges in policing, whether it be cost, whether it be training, whether it be recruiting right now, different challenges, specialization. The example is of the Rahman homicide, that we had an OPP-led investigation because we didn't have the expertise here at the right moment. With that one as an example, Hanover came in, West Grey came in. They sent up officers that were on the street for the first couple of days, knocking on doors downtown, collecting videos and those types of things. So we're doing a certain amount of training together. We're certainly doing their dispatch from here. A lot of the IT comes through Owen Sound for those other police forces. So if we can, find a way to work together, maybe eliminate certain levels of administration, or find a better way, a more efficient way to administer policing. I'm confident that we're going to find a couple of municipalities here and there in Grey County that are going to want to come on. In fact, I've already had whispers that if, depending where we go, they'd be maybe interested in talking to us. So the only other option is OPP. We did that a couple of years ago. West Grey looked at it more recently. Not necessarily any cheaper, though it might be, but then it's a much reduced level of policing. And I think if you talk to anybody in Owen Sound, we don't want a lower level of policing on our streets right now with the challenges that we have. So how do we maintain that level, and how do we find efficiencies? And that's potentially by putting the different organizations together.
Sure. It makes sense in many ways, because, as I believe it was the chief who said, the OPP police is basically, you call, we come. But Owen Sound Police, the municipal police service, tends to be more proactive. It can be proactive. And two very different policing models, and we made that choice. West Grey, as I recall, had quite the upheaval over that conversation, because I remember seeing the signs, "Save our West Grey police," down there. But I suspect that may have had more to do with local politics than anything else.
Certainly, a few years ago, when Sound offered services to Meaford, and they ended up going with OPP. It was at election time. OPP Police Association got very actively involved. We don't foresee a rigid barriers with the police associations. I could be naive in this, but I just don't think it's going to happen with the municipal services. They do training together. They're in contact with one another, and those who are municipal police officers like municipal policing, where OPP is a different animal, and vice versa. So it's a little bit different. But sometimes a lot of things are small barriers between municipalities are kind of passe when we've got these silly little things that we can participate in a meeting somewhere on the other side of the world, or be in contact with somebody. The world is shrinking, and there's different opportunities that we can collaborate certainly throughout the county and still be within reach and understand each other. That's
Well, I still remember the story, and Chief Ambrose has said this on several occasions, that when he arrived in Owen Sound, there had been some kind of crime committed, but there was video. And the video was sent out to all the officers, and within 10 minutes, not only did they know who the person was who had committed that offense, they knew where the person was, and within probably about an hour, the person was in custody.
Yeah, I forget what that case was, but
it was a bank robbery, an attempted bank robbery.
They know.
Yeah, they what's the old he knows when you were sleeping, he knows when you were awake, he knows when you've been bad or good, so be good for goodness sake. That's a Christmas, that's Santa Claus, but I think
okay, I was just trying to think. I can't picture anybody in a police uniform with a long white beard, but I'll go with you on that one.
Unless they were undercover.
Yeah, I don't think that white beard.
Okay. Anyway, what lies ahead for the next month or so? You're back in on the show in a month. What's going to be happening in the next month in terms of the city? We've already mentioned we've got the Santa Claus parade.
So Santa Claus parade, hockey fest. We just hit that. From our point of view, the visioning session, the open house session. I'm actually running from here, looking at the clock, running from here up to Hydrogen Optimized. It has people in from across the province to talk about the hydrogen world and opportunities there. I would hope that there's going to be a provincial government decision on TC Energy, whether they give them the go-ahead to do their investigations and their studies, impact studies, environmental impact studies to look at that or not, and come to some kind of agreement on that. I think that should be happening in the next month, hopefully. I'm going to a conference for the Western Ontario Wardens Caucus in Chatham in a couple of weeks, which will look at slightly different, more Western Ontario points of view. That's certainly where the SWIFT, the high-speed internet expansion, fiber optics, those things came through there, and other different issues. I don't know, life, it can be a blur.
In other words, you're kept busy as the mayor of Owen Sound.
Yeah, and I'll get off of this and I'll go and look at my telephone and go, oh yeah, there'll be 10 things that I could have mentioned, and they're not popping into my head, but lots of neat things going on in this area, and it's great.
I think you make a very valid point. And of course, this show is focused on municipal politics, and of course, I would point out to people that if you go back and read corporate services, you go back or watch corporate services, you read the report, you go to community services, you go to operations committee. All of those three committees have got important budget documents that you can watch, and reports that'll really help you understand the massive scope of this city and the work that is done.
Committees, they can have a little more free conversation, a little more of a back and forth, a little more of a debate. It's a little more casual. They can beat the daylights out of an idea. I remember some of the committees that we started at 5, and you can be there at 9 o'clock at night having a good discussion. We don't have those freedoms the same way at a council table to really pick things apart. By that point, you're approving plans going forward. So the committee work is really important. Look for some construction up at Heritage Grove. That's another thing that's going on with their next store going in. I think they've started to clear the land, and you'll start to see a building going up there pretty quickly.
The permits have been issued. That's the new farm, Freshco.
If not issued, they're really close to being issued, but they're on track to be issued very soon if they don't have them just yet.
And a new PetSmart building.
I believe so. Yes,
those two are. In fact, I read the chief building officer's report, and they were. You're right. If they're not approved, they're certainly in the pipeline, and they're public. So that's probably a few months, probably a year until those buildings are finished and open. But hey, it's change.
With interest rates coming down, I think in the next, not the next month necessarily, but the next few months, we're going to see some of the earth being moved around and groundbreaking that we thought we would see a year ago, but interest rates went too high. I know the plans that are through that on a couple of different projects that are inching closer. And while, we look at a piece of property that isn't doing anything on paper, they're moving ahead either at City Hall or with financing or with planning or, their own policies. So there's stuff happening that behind the scenes, and we'd love to see that bulldozer hitting the ground and starting to make it happen. I think we'll see it soon.
Well, and on that note, Ian, thank you for joining us. We have to go, and I'll watch for the bulldozers, and I'll tell you what I see. And so thank you, Mayor Ian Boddy of the City of Owen Sound, for joining us on Politically Speaking today. And thank you, friends. I'm David Shearman. We'll talk again.
Connect with us by visiting our website or email us at comments@rogerstv.com.
Public transit, garbage pickup, parks and recreation programs, snow removal on your street. How can you stay informed about these and other important local services? Tune to City Council coverage on Rogers TV. See your community leaders at work on Rogers TV City Council coverage.
In para-hockey, the ice tilts in favor of men. But that will never stop us.
United by passion, battling for equity. We are the National Women's Para-Hockey Team.